Now, Russia and Ukraine are locked in intense fighting in the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk, with Russian forces advancing and Ukrainian troops putting up a strong resistance.
That's right, Jyotsna. In fact, satellite images reveal heavy fighting movements and even damage in the city, which underscores Pokrovsk's strategic importance for supply routes and logistics. Russia's defense ministry has said that its forces are fighting house to house, aiming to eject Ukrainian troops from the city. It believes capturing Pokrovsk, known as Gateway to Donetsk, would give them a platform to push forward towards Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, which is key Ukrainian-controlled cities in the Donetsk region. In fact, acknowledging the situation in the region, Ukraine denies being surrounded. It has insisted that their troops are still fighting in the region.
Meanwhile, a Ukrainian court has sentenced a Russian soldier to life in prison for killing Ukrainian prisoner of war, marking the first such ruling. Dmitry Kudashov, who was taken prisoner by Ukrainian forces along with other Russian troops soon after the incident. He pleaded guilty in court but later claimed innocence, wanting a prisoner swap. Ukraine sees this as symbolic, citing numerous Russian executions of Ukrainian prisoners of war, while Russia denies war crimes.
Also, in a related development, a Moscow-backed court in Ukraine's occupied Donetsk region jailed 2 Colombians for 13 years each for fighting for Kiev. They were arrested in Venezuela, handed to Russia and sentenced as mercenaries. Colombia now says that dozens of its citizens have died in Ukraine, where many have joined Ukraine's forces against Russia. Moscow has even prosecuted foreign fighters as mercenaries, carrying up to 15 years in prison rather than treating them as prisoners of war.
And reacting to the situation on the front lines, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced plans to increase funding and support for troops, citing issues with equipment procurement and military service contracts. Now, this decision follows his visit to units engaged in intense fighting in Donetsk and Dnipro regions, where Russia and Ukraine continue to clash.
There were issues raised by the brigades regarding decisions that, unfortunately, are not fully effective. There was also feedback from battalion commanders regarding weapons supplies and support programs. We will increase funding for the brigades and corps on the front line that are engaged in the fiercest fighting.
Well, Sweden and Ukraine have signed a letter of intent to establish a hub in Ukraine for developing new weapon technologies, sharing battlefield expertise and even advanced systems. They have also discussed Ukraine potentially buying up to 150 Swedish Gripen E-fighter jets, with talks ongoing on deliveries and financing options, which includes using frozen Russian assets as well.
Meanwhile, the U.S. has urged European allies to quickly phase out Russian gas imports and instead boost American liquefied natural gas imports. U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum emphasized the U.S. can replace Russian gas in Europe, supporting Ukraine and strengthening U.S.-Europe energy ties. Now, the talks in Greece involved over 80 officials, EU energy ministries and LNG executives, with Burgum criticizing EU climate regulations for potentially hindering energy partnerships.
Fortunately, in the United States, we have an amazing abundance of natural gas. I think we have a tremendous opportunity right now to displace all of the Russian gas, all of it, every last molecule out of Western Europe.